Today is Monday, Parashat Shelach Lecha. Parashah of this week, the spies come back from their mission to the land of Canaan. 10 of the spies give a negative report, but they start by saying, the land you sent us to is a land that flows with milk and honey, so it's a positive report. It's something that is a true statement. But right afterward they continue, however, Ephes, the nation that is that dwells in that place is a powerful nation, and they scare the Jewish people by making statements that insinuate that the land of Canaan is basically impossible to conquer, and it's something that would be very, very risky to go into. The idea of making a positive statement before telling a lie, in other words, mixing with it some truth, because a lie cannot exist if it's all a lie. It has to have some truth in it. So the truth is, it's a land that flows with milk and honey. But afterwards comes the reporting of false statements. Then there are other things that happen in their report. One of the statements that they make is that the people were their giants, and we were like grasshoppers in their eyes. So the grasshoppers in their eyes, the Rabbi of Kotsk says, how can you make such a statement? How do you know how they look at you? Maybe they're looking at you in a way that is not like grasshoppers, but the idea of being like grasshoppers is the spies wanted to instill in the Jewish people in the desert a feeling of futility of their attempt to go into the land of Israel. In other words, don't even try, it's impossible. And that's Soviet Serara. That's sometimes the approach of the evil inclination, to try to make us feel that no matter what we do, our attempt will be futile, that we'll never be able to accomplish. Sometimes even it could be in a way that if you don't do every mitzvah perfectly, then you're worth nothing. That would be the wrong approach. A person has to give value to every good deed that he does. And going into the land of Israel to make people feel like they're small grasshoppers is basically give them a feeling that they're worth nothing. That's very wrong, and that's something they wanted to give as an impression to make them lose hope. There's another aspect about their report. They saw certain things, but they did not perceive the real meaning of them. They said everywhere we went, there were funerals. So Eretz Ochelet Yoshvea, it's a land that devours its inhabitants. Well, they did not perceive that actually that was a blessing in disguise. Spies going into a foreign land, they can be identified, they can be spotted easily. But if people are busy with their funerals, nobody's paying attention to who's there around. Maybe dressed not exactly perfectly like the locals, not speaking exactly perfectly the language. So it was a blessing in disguise that there were many funerals taking place everywhere they went, so that people were busy with their funeral processions rather than paying attention to the spies. Instead of looking at it as, wow, as an incredible miracle that came from Hashem, that these funerals happen all at the same time in the same places that we go. They reported that it's a place that is not to go into because there were funerals all the time. What they saw was only the surface. They didn't perceive the deep meaning of a blessing in disguise that Hashem sent their way to be actually on the opposite, to protect them from being caught as spies. So these are some of the lessons that we learned from the Parashah of this week. Baruch Adonai le'olam, Amen ve'amen.